Welcome to ELVPrasad Techzone. Now the topic is introduction to database. So before the database, actually we should be aware of data and information and knowledge. Actually, these are the very important things in discussing the data. So data is a raw facts of an entity which is not in organized format. So entity may be a person or a place or any some activity. Information is a processed or organized or meaningful data that is called a information. Knowledge means it contains information, experiences and some learnings to solve some specific business problem. So these are the three factors are very important in dealing with the data. So before getting into the database, what are the what are the things we use to store data? Actually, which are generally the float files. So float file which does not have any specific structure is called a float file. So a file which doesn't have any specific structure. So actually there are some disadvantages are there with the float file. So memory wastage, there is no data type support and no image file support. It supports only text files. There is a lot of duplication of data, inconsistency, and there is no concurrency support, meaning that the multiple users cannot access the data, and no relationship will be established. And security is same as that of the operation system level, and no backup or recovery, means automatic backup and recovery is not possible with the file system. So due to these reasons, these are the problems are there. So that would be overcome in the DBMS. So we'll see actually at what level the things are happening. Before getting into that, actually few definitions. Operating system, we are all aware. Set of programs using which system resources can be used. Database, it's a collection of similar and interrelated data stored in some organized manner. So what is DBMS? It is a software or set of instructions which helps the user to maintain and utilize large amounts of data stored in databases like FaxPro. So DBMS is made up of three components, which are SQL, database and database engine. So when we see here database components, database engine is there and SQL and database and results. Here we have to write SQL queries to interact with the database, and what are the queries written, so that will be processed in the database engine, and finally the data will be stored and retrieved from the database. And once this query is executed, then we get the results. So this is how the components of DBMS. What is SQL? Structured query language. It is used to query the data. So here SQL is developed by initially by the IBM, later standardized by ANSI. So in the diagram where database, here where the data is stored, whereas database engine, it compiles SQL statements and check syntactical errors. So next step of the DBMS is RDBMS. So it is a relational database management system. So relational DBMS. What is a relation? Relation, if the data is represented in the form of rows and columns, that is called a relation. What exactly the relationship? So association between the data is called a relationship. Let's see the difference. So what is the main difference between DBMS and RDBMS? So what we have in DBMS and what we have in RDBMS. So data will be stored in the form of plot file, but externally it will be represented as in the form of rows and columns. That is called as a relation, that is in the DBMS. So in case of RDBMS, where data will be stored and represented in the form of a relation, that is also rows and columns. But here data and means the result will be presented as well as stored in the same column and rows and column format. So in case of DBMS, relationship will not be stored permanently into the database. It only be constructed dynamically. So example, FaxPro is a DBMS example. So in case of RDBMS, relationship will be stored permanently into database Examples of RDBMS are Oracle, SQL Server, DB2, so like that. And let's see the database designing models. So there are two models. Here we have object based model and record based model. So in the object based model, all concepts will be identified and then database will be designed logically using the ER diagram. In case of record based model, database will be implemented physically by using the software like SQL Server, Oracle, and all this. So these are the different concepts related to database. So in this way, we can, what are the disadvantages with the flood files that would be overcome in the database. So the concepts related to DBM database, DBMS, and advanced of DBMS is RDBMS. So examples are SQL Server and all other. So we'll see the other topics in the coming videos. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to ELVPrasad Techzone. Thank you.